My driver, Henry, dropped me off on the side of the road in front of my building. The traffic this morning due to Christmas shopping wasn't too bad, and we managed to get here from my estate. "What time do you want to leave today, sir?" he asked. "Most likely 5 o'clock, Henry. And please, for the 1,000th time, call me Chris." I slid into the luxurious leather seat and stepped out the back door of my Rolls-Royce, carefully picking my way through the puddles on the pavement. My shoes cost $1,000 a pair, and although I could easily afford new ones, I took care of them. I also didn't want to get the pants of my $5,000 suit or my expensive cashmere coat all over the place. The doorman respectfully held the door for me while Henry drove the limousine to my private parking lot underneath the building. Using the reflection in the glass, I made sure that my new Empa gold tie, $8,500, lay flat. It was woven from real gold threads intertwined with silk. I fiddled with it for a moment before walking through the door. I waved to the ladies at the reception, knowing that they had already spread the word that the boss was in the building. A newly installed 6-meter tree next to the reception desk sparkled with colorful lights. The tinsel hanging from the branches twisted and twirled in the light currents of air, shimmering with all colors. Decorative gifts were laid out under the tree. Last night, the employees were getting together for a holiday party. As the CEO of the company, I should have been there, but the game on TV was more inviting. As I headed to my office, I once again admired the antique Greek marble we used for the floors and walls. It was recovered from a 300-year-old Greek villa damaged by an earthquake and was delivered at considerable expense. Contrasted with the rich woodwork that adorned my massive corner office, it gave the impression that the company was doing very well. Expensive original works of art hung on the walls, complementing the luxurious furniture, and an extra-large desk imported from Italy. With hand-knotted wool rugs scattered throughout, it was a very comfortable place to work. The view of the entire city often distracted me from my work. The floor-to-ceiling views of the ocean and mountains were breathtaking. The city authorities had decorated all the trees on the street with Christmas lights, and together with the buildings and decorated houses visible in the distance, it looked very beautiful. Beautiful, but, in my opinion, wasteful. I've come a long way since we started working. I came out of nowhere to get to this place. We now owned the entire building from top to bottom, without a mortgage. We have a factory outside the city, and I expected to pay off this loan within the next 6 months. This would free the entire company from debt and would be worth hundreds of millions. I stood at the window and looked at the world, experiencing a feeling of great satisfaction. Life was good. Christmas was approaching, and I was thinking about what to give myself. I had my eye on a Ferrari Scaglietti, although I thought the price of $4.8 million was too much. The Lamborghini Agoista cost only $2.6 million. I briefly toyed with the idea of buying both cars. I could afford it. True, the garage would have to be expanded. Rolls-Royce, Porsche, and Corvette have already filled it. The car salesman was following me around, waiting to decide if I wanted it for Christmas. But it seemed a little ostentatious. I'll wait a little longer. The door opened behind me and my assistant Laura walked in holding a cup of my favorite Kopi Luwak coffee. Coffee beans pass through the digestive system of a civet cat, a creature that resembles a cross between a raccoon and a cat. The beans are hand-picked from their feces and imported here from Indonesia. Depending on availability, they cost me anywhere from $100 to $500 per pound. But the coffee is incredible, and I only share it with our best customers. As always, I admired her slender figure as she carefully crossed the office, trying not to spill a single drop of the precious liquid. She was simply stunning. 28 years old, only 5 years younger than me, and I've always had an undeclared desire for her. I had thought about asking her out more times than I could remember, but I had set ironclad rules against fraternization at the company, and asking her out would have violated those. She was the first employee I hired when I could afford it after starting the company, a young, energetic, 22-year-old girl, fresh out of college with a degree in business management and eager to get started in the business world. She had an unsuccessful marriage and a small son from her student husband, who disappeared. I could never remember the child's name, but I knew he was about 7, maybe 8 years old. She handed me the coffee as I looked at her height, 5 feet 2 inches, dark hair that curled to chest level, a cute button nose, and warm, dark brown eyes that you could get lost in. If she weighed more than 110 pounds, I would be surprised. Even though I tried not to look at her, my eyes continued to move down her body. I didn't want anyone to get the impression that I was looking at her. I frowned, noticing that her skirt looked a little frayed. We wanted to make a good impression here on the executive floor and had to dress accordingly. As if she had read my thoughts, she smiled. I need to replace this skirt, but it's my favorite, and it's hard to give it up. I nodded my head. She will take care of this problem. So, what's on our agenda today? There's actually very little to do today. We're entering the Christmas quiet period. She held out the tablet to show me my appointments. She was right. There was nothing that important. Unlike many days when we started, we worked 12 to 14 hours to cover it all. She always supported me. I made a decision. There's nothing here that you can't handle. Call Henry and ask him to return the car. Call my club and ask for a racquetball partner, then make a reservation for me for lunch. After lunch, let them book a massage with Michael. Make it lasting. I'm feeling a little sore from everything my personal trainer has put me through over the past few days. Could you also call home and let Bertha know that I want to have dinner early? There will be another game tonight. Got it, boss. Seriously, Laura, how many times do I have to ask you to call me Chris? It used to be Chris, but at some point she started calling me boss. Sorry. What about tomorrow? An embarrassed expression appeared on Laura's face, and she tapped her finger on the notepad to call up tomorrow. A meeting is scheduled for tomorrow morning, then lunch, and part of the afternoon. Sorry, Chris, I don't remember booking this appointment, and I looked everywhere. There are no records of this. I have no idea how this happened, and I can't tell who it is or what it's about. I'm really sorry. Well, I think tomorrow we'll be flying by the seat of our pants. I laughed to alleviate her embarrassment. In truth, Laura made damn few mistakes, much less big ones. It was a lot of unexplained time to meet. I slipped back into my Vicuna cashmere coat, which cost me $21,000. They were incredibly rare, and I only acquired it thanks to a friend associated with this company. They produced exactly 100 of these products per year. Then another thought came to my mind. I've noticed that there's a little less tape, Laura. Could you try and get me some more 50-year-old Balvenie? The last bottle cost us $50,000. Try to see if you can find something for $37,000. Yes, last time it was on such short notice, but I have a supplier at around 37, so I'll order some today. Maybe we'll order 2 or 3, in fact. Let's make it half a dozen. The price of this item keeps going up and up, so maybe we can save a few bucks by ordering more. Got it, boss. I shook my head. It turned into a constant struggle between us. Maybe she'll change someday and start calling me Chris again. Laura headed towards the exit, and I, as always, looked after her. At the door, she stopped and gave me that inviting look over her shoulder that she did every time. She knew I would watch, and I knew I would watch. My heart began to pound slightly with desire for her. She was amazingly sweet, and I yearned for her. Unfortunately, there were only professionals in the club. The unspoken rule of the club members was to bet 100 or 2 on the winner of each game. Many times it was easy money for me, but the professional beat me easily. So, by betting against him, I was throwing money away. Lunch was excellent. It was one of the no-menu days. It was the chef's own creation and came with an exquisite wine. I savored every bite. I have no idea how much the whole lunch cost. There was no invoice. It went to my account and was sent to my company for payment once a month. I can happily say that Michael's massage was worth every penny, including the $50 tip I left. The painful spots disappeared like dew on the lawn in the morning sun. After the shower, I felt completely refreshed. Henry drove me home, and I dined on sirloin steak and lobster with fresh vegetables that Bertha had prepared. I went through several chefs until I found Bertha. Although she was not certified, she was a food wizard who worked magic in my kitchen. That's why I got a personal trainer. He worked hard on my ass to stop it from turning me into a blimp. The everyday battles between Bertha and the coach were legendary. The trainer insisted that I needed a strict diet of vegetables and small portions of lean meat. No desserts. In response, she threatened to smash the ladle over his stupid head if he didn't get out of her kitchen and let her cook her best. A match made in heaven. I refused to interfere. I would gladly take the pain of his training for her incredibly delicious creations. With my belly full and slightly bloated, I settled into my leather chair with a crystal glass of my personal Balvenie scotch. No ice. The chair was custom-made and equipped with Bluetooth, so I could control my 80-inch TV, as well as surround sound for listening to music, video, or TV. They took a plaster cast of my body and made a custom chair. It is equipped with vibration, heating, electronic motors that allow me to adjust the chair to the ideal position. I could even answer the phone and the doorbell without moving. The whole room cost me almost $80,000. Of course, compared to the $2.5 million I'd paid for a 5-acre estate with a 10,000-square-foot house and an Olympic-size pool, renovating the TV room was a piece of cake. I turned on the game and made myself comfortable. By the end of the first quarter, my team was trailing by a touchdown, and I wanted something to eat, so I headed to the pantry. My favorite treats were salty Ripple chips and garlic chip sauce. Both were on my coach's hit list. He regularly rummaged through the pantry, throwing out all the goodies. Bertha, my partner in crime, tossed him some packages to distract him and make him think he had everything. For such evenings, we set up another hiding place that he could not reach. I poured myself another shot of Balvenie, admiring the color and subtle aroma of liquid gold. Gold, that's for sure. This little sip must have cost a couple $1,000s. I pulled out a bag of chips and chipped dip and headed back for the second quarter. After watching my team suffer yet another defeat, I headed upstairs and climbed into bed with my comfortable $12,500 Charlotte Thomas sheets. Made from merino wool and other rich materials, they were incredibly luxurious and comfortable. I almost bought a Vividus mattress for $145,000, but at the last moment I decided to give in to the Cluft mattress for $30,000. The difference in comfort was minimal. I saved over $100,000 and slept just as well. I was proud of my restraint. Laura, girl of my dreams, unattainable by my own rules, unless I fire her. Something I just couldn't do because I had no idea how she felt about me. It seemed to me that she really liked me, but I couldn't even ask, and she couldn't tell me. Not for the first time, I cursed the system I had created that prevented me from finding out. Having cleaned myself up, I took out my favorite photo from under the pillow, a selfie taken several years ago. We worked late and took a break for dinner. The picture captured our faces smiling and laughing as we ate. Laura's beautiful, beaming face stayed with me as I drifted off to sleep. The next morning, I walked into the waiting room for my mystery meeting with 10 minutes to spare. I frowned when I saw that all the lights were off. Only the glow of the small Christmas tree, which Laura had obviously decorated herself, illuminated the room. Damn. I forgot that yesterday she asked me to help her decorate our office for Christmas. She was probably very disappointed when I thoughtlessly left early like that. It was probably for the best. Working in such close contact with her would be sheer torture. I could tolerate her coming in and out of my office throughout the day, but when I was around her for long periods of time, not a minute went by that I didn't want to hug her, kiss her, carry her in your arms, and never let her out of your sight again. But Laura was nowhere to be seen, and the door to my office was open. It was supposed to be locked. A lot of confidential information was stored there. It was strange. All the years that we worked, Laura was always waiting for me. I entered my office and hung my coat on the hanger. My chair was facing the window, and when I approached the table, I was shocked that it suddenly turned around. "Mrs. Carrington, what are you doing here and where is Laura? Is she all right?" I asked, suddenly alarmed that her mother was here and Laura was away. "Laura will be a little late this morning, so I turned off her alarm clock." "Sit down," she ordered, pointing to the chair in front of my desk. Something happened. It was quite offensive behavior, but a little tickle in my brain told me that sitting down would be the smartest thing to do. She looked at me intently with a serious, steely gaze. "I saw the way you look at my daughter. Do you love her?" Wow. right on point. I immediately wanted to say that it was none of her business, but again, something in her look told me that my answer was important. Now was not the time. Yes, even more than I can tell you, I admitted. But I established these stupid rules of non-brotherhood in the company many years ago, and I don't dare say anything. She nodded. I thought so. Today, you and I are going on a journey. You will have questions, but you should save them for later. You yourself will understand when to ask them. Just so you know, I was the one who got hold of Laura's tablet and keys at home and booked this time with you. She has nothing to do with this and has no idea I'm here. She looked at her watch. We must go if we are to complete the first leg of our journey. Okay, I agreed. The few times I met Laura's mom, she seemed like a serious lady, not the type to waste my time without any serious intentions. She went to a lot of trouble for this. Whatever it was, it had to be damn important to her to take such drastic measures. I'll call Henry and get a limousine. No limousine, she said, walked around the table, rummaged in her bag, and pulled out a windbreaker. Get rid of the jacket. You'll need this. She took my phone from the table, grabbed my wallet from my back pocket while I was putting on my jacket, and threw them into her purse. Hey, I protested. You won't need them. I have to leave Laura a note. There's no time, and I've already done it. Come on, we can't be late. She grabbed my hand and pulled me towards the door. Once outside, she hurried to the stop just in time for us to catch the bus that was about to leave. Standing in the doorway and waiting for the guy in front to pay the fare, she noticed, "It's good that we made it in time, otherwise we would have had to wait for the next bus for an hour, as Laura often does when you keep her at work late." This was news to me. Sometimes she waited here for an hour. I frowned. Some of these evenings were quite late, and despite the fact that it was a large office building in a decent area, it was deserted in the evening. I didn't like this idea. She showed the bus driver her pass and told me to pay the fare. I pointed to her purse. My wallet was there. She shook her head. Nope, you won't get it. I rummaged it in my pocket until I found some change. Better ask for a pass, she ordered. We'll be changing buses a couple of times, and if you don't have a lot of change, you'll have to walk. One of the passengers spoke. Come on, buddy. We all have to go to work, and you're delaying the bus. Sorry, I've never ridden a transit before. I have no idea how this works. He just made a sound of disgust and turned to look out the window, muttering something under his breath. Perhaps it was a compliment to the season, or maybe not. It seemed like everyone was looking at Laura's mom and I as we walked down the aisle and took our seats. How long to go? I asked. About 20 minutes. Can I at least use my phone and play a game or do some work? No, came the firm answer. Laura can't afford her own phone. She is not allowed to use the phone you gave her outside the office unless it is to answer your call. Just sit back and enjoy the ride. By the time we stopped, I was bored and counting the rivets on the ceiling of the bus. 72 rivets per ceiling panel for those interested in such little things. I must admit that the bus was comfortable and quiet. I noticed there was a sign there that said, air conditioning. The high-back seats were streamlined and seemed to hug my body. I was surprised why many people complain about the quality of buses. It seemed to me that it was very comfortable here. We got out and they told me that we would have to wait 30 minutes for the next bus. By the time 15 minutes had passed, I was already shivering from the cold. I pointed to the cafe across the street. If you give me my wallet, I'll go buy us a couple of cups of coffee to warm up. Laura can't afford coffee, came the sharp refusal. But I'm getting cold. The trembling was stronger now. Why are you cold? She asked. Don't you recognize the jacket? This is the same as Laura's. Laura has a nice warm jacket. I gave it to her for her birthday, I protested. She had a jacket, you mean? She had a nice warm jacket until she was forced to sell it to pay rent for herself and David. Did you have to sell your jacket to pay the rent? I began to guess what was going on, but then jealousy bit me hard. Is David her boyfriend? She gave me a withering look full of disgust. I don't understand what this girl sees in you. You've been working with her for years. Surely she's mentioned her son David once or twice. Don't you even remember his name? Oh, damn, of course it's her son. Instant jealousy. at the mere mention of a man's name, clouded my mind. Not to mention, I was shaking like crazy. I was so happy to see the second bus arrive. It wasn't that warm inside, but it was definitely warmer than outside. "How much longer to go?" "30 minutes," came the answer. When we got off at the next stop, I was still shaking periodically. Bored, I studied the rug that covered the floor in the center of the bus. It was clear that the system was designed for someone to come in with a high-pressure hose and quickly wash the bus. But the rug had a flaw. The design did not allow it to drain on its own and dry out easily. I saved this for future use. You never know where business will take us. The bus itself was an example of poor design. The seat was formed by a ring of metal pipes, and a metal crossbar ran behind my head. I could only imagine the damage my skull would suffer if we were in an accident. The plastic vinyl seats formed a bench like a church pew, which didn't offer much comfort. The bus was obviously quite old and looked the part. Tired, faded colors, dirty windows, and a faint smell of decay. The engine was noisy and made it difficult to talk. Despite the cold, I was not sorry to leave him when we got off at the next stop. "What now, Mrs. Carrington?" I asked. "We're going," she said, leaving. "And you can call me Mom. Everyone does." After 3 blocks, we came to one of the huge grocery stores with low prices. "When was the last time you went grocery shopping?" she asked. "Many years ago," I admitted. "Well, you're in for a treat," she grinned, handing me the list. "This is the cheapest grocery store in town." Why did I have the feeling that this would not give me pleasure? I looked at her list. I could do it. I took the stroller and hit the road. "I'll wait for you at the checkout," she called. The purchase was a shock. The prices for food, in my opinion, were exorbitant. Especially the prices of meat made you feel like someone had a gun to your head. To pass the time, I started a game of guessing the price before I found the item. In almost every case, I was wrong in my assumptions. Everything was expensive. I finished feeling proud of myself and then had to stand in a long line. There weren't enough open cash registers, at least it was warm. Finally, I walked through and the cash register showed just over $280. I extended my hand to my wallet and my mother took it out. "Oh my God," she said, taking out the $5,000 in cash I kept in it. I was afraid I was going to have to pay for this part. She handed me $200. I pointed to the cash register. "Here, it's $280. She pointed to a pile of products on the conveyor belt. "This is what 2 people need to survive." Then pointed to the cash in my hand. "This is what Laura can afford. You'll have to give some of it back." "Oh, come on," I whined. "Just give me cash or my credit card. I'll give her everything." "You're a smart man, Chris. Laura makes decisions like this all the time. Surely you're as tough as she is, aren't you?" The sarcastic notes in her voice made me believe that she didn't think like that at all. I have never been so ashamed in my life. Obviously, the meat had to be returned. I tried to choose things that I thought would be nutritious and would last a long time. But to be honest, I had no idea. Really, I had no idea. Someone took care of all this for me, and someone else paid. A long line muttered unpleasant words at me while I sorted things out and made decisions. Finally, I managed to bring the bill down to $200, and we left the store, me clutching 4 heavy bags of groceries. On the street, I turned to Mom. "Okay, I understand. I'll give her a raise." She slapped me so quickly that I didn't have time to notice the blow. I staggered and nearly dropped the groceries, her handprint burning hot on my face. "Don't you dare think that it's just about money." This small, 5-foot ball of rage growled in my face. "You don't even know the half of it. Just shut up and keep doing what you're told." I was 6 feet tall, but I trembled in front of this demonic woman. "This way, idiot," she muttered and walked away. I followed obediently, carrying heavy bags. By the time we walked 3 blocks to the bus stop, the groceries were starting to feel heavy in my hands. "Maybe we can take a taxi for all this?" I asked. She gave me a scary look. "Probably not," I conceded. She looked at her watch. It's a pity that you spent so long in this grocery store. We missed the bus. The next one will be in 45 minutes. 45 minutes later, I was frantically pacing back and forth across the bus stop, trying to keep warm. My hands felt lead and numb, trying to hold the bags. I felt that my mind was clouding. I was no longer thinking clearly. I started the first stage of hypothermia. I was glad to get the bus, but Mom had to rummage through my pockets for a pass. Apparently, I needed to know to get it out before grabbing all the groceries. I couldn't put them in because it was too wet, and the bags would get wet and tear. She informed me that if I screwed up next time, she would leave me standing on the sidewalk. A 30-minute bus ride with these damn products brought us to our next stop. I couldn't fit them. The cabin was standing room only, and the seats were full. The bus itself was a disaster. The loud, noisy engine spewed out huge clouds of black smoke, which seemed to permeate every inch of the material inside. The rubber mats had worn through to the metal floor. The seats were torn. Several posts that were supposed to hold people in a standing position were missing. I had no idea that there were such decrepit cars in the transport fleet. The unshaven driver was scruffy, his shirt untucked, a cigarette dangling from his mouth, despite the numerous defaced no-smoking signs that decorated the bus. He shouted obscenities at more than one vehicle on the road, which caused his anger. I heard him directly ask the woman to get off the bus. It was disgusting. The city outside the window has changed. In the recesses at the entrances to empty stores, you could often see drunks or homeless people sleeping together, their carts with things parked nearby. Along the highway were destroyed houses that had not been painted for a long time. There were boarded-up windows everywhere, indicating abandonment or lack of money for repairs. Occasionally there were neat and clean houses, but they were something unusual, trying to withstand the hurricane of poverty. The next stop was an eye-opener. The bus shelter's windows had been smashed, and old posters hung in shaggy pieces from the remaining structural frame and remnants of glass. The floor was dirty with cigarette butts, broken glass, and other debris beyond description. I couldn't even imagine the last time they cleaned this place. Mom cheerfully went for a walk, and I trudged behind, carrying these damned products. If Laura can do it, then so can I. Down on the street, I saw children who, despite the cold, were playing with a ball. However, closer to us, two rough-looking guys stood in the way. Mother, one asked questionably, looking at me suspiciously. "It's okay, Mike. This is Laura's boss." "Laura's boss? Is this the same bastard?" His eyes said it all. Contempt was clearly visible in them. Contempt, which he reinforced by spitting a wad of phlegm onto my expensive suit pants. I shifted the bags of groceries, looking in disbelief at the phlegm dripping down my pants. The second guy muttered "asshole" after me, and they left. Mom's face looked at me impassively. I was at a loss for words. "Everyone loves Laura, but you may turn out to be unpopular here," she suggested, and began to walk again. The area was a slum with poorly preserved apartment buildings lining the streets. There were wrecked cars everywhere, dismantled and abandoned. The people looked rude and unfriendly. I was taken aback and asked, "Does Laura really come here in the evenings?" I realized I wouldn't like the answer when Mom's face turned bright red. "What a stupid question, Chris. You sometimes stay late, and she is always with you." "Yes, she comes here late at night, in the rain, in the snow, in the cold. What are you thinking about, Chris?" After a long, miserable, almost 2-hour bus ride home, where she was often forced to wait at dark, lonely stops. There are times when she has to carry groceries late at night because you don't think about the fact that she has to work on weekends, leaving her no time to shop. At the same time, you do not pay her extra for overtime work. Did I mention those nights when it was so late that the buses weren't running and she had to dip into her and David's grocery money to pay for a taxi home? When this happens, she needs the help of the food bank. Otherwise, they will starve. She literally spat out the last words. I was speechless. I never thought about how she got home when we worked late. I was just guessing. Oh, damn, that's the word. It was an old joke, but very true. I remembered Tony Randall from the old TV series, The Odd Couple, acted out a courtroom scene where he scribbled the word assumption on the board in response to a witness's testimony. She assumed something. When you assume, you make an ass out of yourself and me. I was an ass for suggesting she was fine. By this time, we had reached the playground, and a boy ran up to us. "Grandmother!" Mom hugged him. "David, this is Chris, your mom's boss." His mood immediately soured, and I realized that I was not on his wish list to get to know each other better. I tried to distract him. "Do you like baseball?" He nodded. "What position do you play?" "I like first base," he admitted. I looked at his glove. It was a catcher's glove, very tattered, and the seams could barely hold it together. "How the hell do you play first base wearing a catcher's mitt?" His clothes were neat and clean, but very worn and faded. I blurted out something stupid. "Have you ever been to a major league game?" He stared at me as if he had just discovered dog shit on his sneakers. He got angry with me. "No, never. Thanks to you, there is too much money left at the end of the month." "David," Mom warned him, "I hear your conversations with Mom." He shouted angrily over his shoulder and ran back to his game. I was shocked. An 8-year-old just gave me one of the most humiliating moments of my life. "I should apologize for his behavior, but I can't say I'm sorry," Mom said. "No, don't apologize. He is right. This is completely my fault, and I'm going to make it right." This is just the beginning, Chris," she said as she entered the building. "Just the beginning?" I grasped at this thought in bewilderment. How much worse could it get? Feeling uneasy, I followed my mother into the building. I would eat that thought. The worst didn't even begin to hide it. To put it mildly, the building stank. Obviously, it was not maintained in working order. The smells of stale food were simply overwhelming. The stench of urine, rot, and unwashed people made me want to puke. There was a torn sign hanging on the elevator, "Does not work," as if it had been hanging there for many years, and we went up 3 floors. Entering Laura's apartment, I looked around and my heart sank. The kitchen table and 2 chairs were clearly secondhand, scratched, dented, and broken in places. A tiny love seat, the holes taped shut, sat in front of a 12-inch rear projection television. Something I haven't seen for years. Mom noticed that I was looking at TV. It doesn't work, and she can't afford to fix it or buy a new one. Even if she could, she can't afford cable TV. "Come here." She waved her hand toward the closed door. I opened it and almost fell. There was a children's mattress on the floor in one corner and a single mattress in the other. For privacy, a sheet was pulled around the large mattress. Next to the small mattress, a fir branch with several Christmas lights was attached to the wall. Beneath it lay a couple of small wrapped gifts. A little further along, next to a small reading lamp, lay several books. "Laura and David live in the same room," Mom pointed out. I barely made it to the heavily stained sink before I vomited my rather expensive breakfast. How could I be so blind? How could I do this to the woman I loved? I turned away from the sink, tears blurring my eyes. "I can fix everything, Mom." Once again, I didn't notice the impact. I fell to my knees, my face hurt. God, that woman had a nasty right hook. She attacked me with rage. "Do you think it's just Laura? You pathetic idiot. Think about the bigger picture. Probably almost half of your employees live like this because you pay them so poorly." "What?" I gasped. "Half my employees?" "Your people believe in you, Chris, but you let them down by living in your palace and ordering almost $250,000 worth of expensive scotch." "Yes, I've heard about it. Your employees are starving. David has never been to the dentist. Did you know about this?" "But we have dental insurance." "Yes, 50%. But where does the other 50% come from? If she spends money on dentistry, she will have to pay back even more at the checkout, and my daughter and grandson don't eat. It's the same with doctors and prescriptions. Many of your employees are suffering. Many survive until the end of the month only thanks to the charity of food banks." God, I was terrified. What have I done? I sat on the floor, not caring about my expensive clothes, and cried my heart out. "Is this all true?" Was I really that forgetful? Are so many people really suffering from my inattention? Mom sat down on the floor next to me and pulled my head towards her, stroking my hair. You were once a good person, Chris. You had a fire in your belly and were driven to succeed. You have inspired Laura and many others to follow you and work hard to help build your business. Somewhere along the way, you lost track of them. You get caught up in pampering yourself while ignoring their well-being. However, Laura never criticized you, even once, despite everything you saw today. This girl loves you madly and is completely devoted to you. A ray of hope pierced me. Laura loves me? Yes, it is. In my opinion, she is simply a fool in relation to you. But no more, Chris. Your competitors offered her 3 times more than you paid her. They would like her to start work immediately after Christmas. They've been courting her for years because she knows the business inside and out. Out of devotion to you, she refused every time. I told her that if she refused this, I would no longer help her. I helped her with my small pension as best I could. But as you can see, this is not enough. She must give them the answer today, and then she will become history. She will leave. It is an abomination that such a wonderful, hard-working person, like her and my grandson, have to live like this. There was no time to waste. I needed Laura like the air I breathe or the food I eat. She was with me almost from the very beginning. Most of the success I've had has been thanks to her. Not that I discounted the countless hours that other employees gave so freely to me when we first started. For the first time in my life, I discovered that I didn't love myself. How could I be so blind, so selfish, and not notice all this? Despite the fact that I confessed my love for her, I never thought about the fate of Laura or the fate of my other employees. I was self-centered and vain, and here is a woman who covered my back in the most difficult times, not paying attention to her terrible personal circumstances, which she found herself in due to my carelessness. And she never complained. It's time to take control of the situation. I rose to my feet with difficulty, wiped my tears, and extended my hand. My wallet and phone, please. A stubborn expression appeared on Mom's face. Mom, we can go back by bus, and if you insist, I will do it. I'll still be learning, but I get it. You are 100% right. It's already 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I need to do this now. A lost minute is an unresolved problem. I need to get my staff together and start working to fix this. My emotions took over, and I turned to her with a sincere plea. Please, Mom, I can't lose Laura. I just cannot. I stood with tears in my eyes and begged for mercy. She reluctantly gave up my things. I'm sure she felt the need to torture me some more, and I couldn't blame her. I was a complete ass. Get David ready. We'll leave as soon as my car is here. When the 3 of us and Henry entered the office, Laura's eyes became very large. Mom, what have you done? She asked carefully. What should have been done many years ago? She sank down onto the couch. Is there any of that fancy coffee here? Sonny, make us all a cup, and maybe you can find some fizzy drink for David. I urgently need Sheila from HR. Whatever she's doing, tell her to quit it. Son? She gasped, her eyes bulging out of their sockets again. Honey, I was an idiot to you, and I still have a lot to apologize to you for. But now my employees are suffering, and I need to make things right. By the way, here's your new salary. I scribbled on a piece of paper. She looked at the piece of paper, hiccuped nervously, and then looked at me with tears in her eyes. I understood that this was 4 times more than what she earned now, but I owed her a lot. Not that she was going to work for long, if I have anything to say about it. I had other plans for her future, plans for our future together. I could only hope that she would accept me after the disaster I had caused. I invited Henry into my office once we had all had our coffee. I need you to take Laura, her mom, and David shopping today. I'm going to book them into a hotel room across the street until I can figure out something else. She will never return to the hole in which she lives, but they will need clothes and personal items. Walmart? He asked. No, take her to all the best stores in the city. Dresses, pants, shoes, handbags, toiletries, underwear. Everything she needs, and as much as she wants. Use a corporate credit card. Oh, and take David to a sports store. Let him buy whatever his heart desires, but definitely a good baseball glove. Any ideas on how much? I don't care. 10,000, 20, 50. It doesn't matter. Buy her and David what they need. And let Mom choose something good, too. Just keep her away from stores that sell brass knuckles. In fact, grab one of those sports jackets you've always admired. Boss, these jackets cost $3,000. He sighed. In that case, take 2. Seriously, Henry, things are going to change here, and it's going to be good. I owe you and so many others for my success, and it's time to pay it forward. His back became noticeably straighter as he walked out the door to pick up his charges. Sheila, our HR director, knocked on my door. I waved my hand at her, inviting her to go to the sofa and armchair, and joined her. It's time to speak directly. How much less do we pay than our competitors? Do you want me to embellish or tell you the truth? Everything has to change, Sheila, so let's tell the honest truth. 20 to 30% less, incomplete benefits package, and no pension plan, she said. Damn, that was worse than I thought. How did we get to this life? I knew I was trying to run the financial ship tightly, but it was ridiculous. I realized that I always pushed Sheila away when she wanted to talk about salaries and industry averages. I was too focused on paying off the company's debts quickly. It's surprising that someone else worked for me. How much does it cost to fix this? Bring us to maybe 10% above the industry average? I need to do some calculations to be sure, but my intuition tells me that we are talking about 2, maybe 3 million. What if we do this retroactively, from the beginning of the year? She whistled. From 3 to 5 million, maybe more. The company had over 50 million in time certificates and bearer bonds for a rainy day. It was pouring rain, time to free up some cash. Okay, here's what I want to do. I want the hotel opposite on Friday, the day after tomorrow, to have a room large enough to accommodate all the staff. Then I want you to... I outlined my plans. That evening, I met Laura for dinner at the hotel. My breath caught when she followed the head waiter into the hall. I don't know what designer dress she was wearing, but she was glowing in it. Almost every man's head in the restaurant turned and watched her progress, annoying many of the other women. You could bring David, I suggested. She laughed. David, Henry, and Mom went for a swim in the hotel pool. David is having a great time here. Thanks for this. They said they would take care of him for the evening. And, are you ready for this? Her face was illuminated and excited about something. My curiosity was piqued. Henry and Mom really got along. Mom is already making cow eyes at him. I almost choked. Henry and Mom? Is Mom making cow eyes at Henry? I didn't expect this. I couldn't even realize it. Perhaps I should increase Henry's health insurance? Surrounded by Mom, people strive to end up on their ass. Wow, I suggested. Maybe she'll calm down if she gets laid. We almost died laughing at the thought. You have bruises on your face. What's happened? That mother of yours has one hell of a right hook. She beat the crap out of me. Very informative. But honestly, she was right, and I deserved it for the way I treated you and others. We talked throughout dinner, like two people hungry for each other, which, in general, was the case. I couldn't take my eyes off her. Our hands seemed to find each other often. Her touch moved me to the core. Deep down, I knew that I would love this woman until the day I die. She was my soulmate, and I knew it the moment she walked through my door all those years ago. I could only hope that she felt the same way about me. Maybe she will forgive me. Could there be a place in her heart where forgiveness of my sins would be possible? After dinner, we settled down on a comfortable sofa in the quiet piano bar. Laura snuggled under my arm and rested her head on my shoulder. There was no need for words. We listened to music together and looked at the twinkling lights on the large Christmas tree in the hall. Happy people strolled noisily past, coming and going to the various Christmas parties thrown by their employers at the hotel. Something else I overlooked. This will not happen again. I whispered in her ear. May I kiss you? I've been dreaming about this for a long time. She didn't answer. She just found my lips with hers. It was divine. I've been waiting for this moment for so long. After a while, I realized that the waitress was standing, waiting with the bill in her hand, tapping her foot. She had a very funny expression on her face. We're closing already, sir. Can we pay the bill? We were shocked. I looked at my watch, and somehow more than 2 hours passed unnoticed by us. Laura blushed with embarrassment, and I took out my credit card. We laughed about it all the way to her room and stood at the door, hugging one last time. Looking into her beautiful eyes, I didn't want to ruin the moment, but I had to explain something to her. In the next 2 days, big changes will happen. Your job is to stay here and relax. Go for a massage. Go to the hairdresser. Get a manicure. Whatever. If you want to take David somewhere, ask Henry to take you. Buy everything you need. Henry will help you and take care of the bills. On Friday morning, we will have a breakfast meeting at this hotel with all the staff, and I want you to attend. You and I need to talk about ourselves, and then we can make some decisions. We kissed goodnight, and Angel Wings carried me down the hallway with the biggest smile on my face. I don't remember exactly how I walked. Sheila and her staff worked hard to prepare for Friday's meeting. Everyone enjoyed a lavish corporate breakfast at the hotel. After that, I chose a bar stool in the center of the stage to sit on. It's time to put things in order. The crowd fell silent. I began to speak, facing the people I had failed so badly. I tried to control the trembling in my voice from all the terrible emotions I was experiencing. I am here this morning to admit that I have failed as a leader. I allowed myself to be carried away by my own greedy desires, not realizing that I did not care about the people who worked so hard to help the company get to where it was. My voice broke with emotion, but I had to continue. We're going to fix that today. Over the past couple of days, Sheila and her staff have worked wonders. They give you envelopes, but please don't open them until everyone has received theirs. We must pay tribute to Sheila's foresight. She somewhere got hold of large red envelopes with a picture of Santa. They were ideal in content and time of year. I sat and waited for everyone to sort it out and get theirs. Please open them. There was a general sigh from the crowd and several, "Oh my God." I smiled as I heard a small squeal of joy coming from behind the curtains. Laura opened hers. I did some good things there that made me feel a little better. Her salary was 6 figures. I exercised my managerial prerogatives and added a retroactive bonus that reached 7 figures. Then there were company shares and options to purchase them. Her dedication and hard work deserved it. Even now, without me, she was a very wealthy young woman. I started with the good news. From today, everyone receives a 30% increase in salary. Secondly, a check in an envelope means a recalculation of this increase from the beginning of the year. For most of you, that's a 5-figure sum. There was loud collective applause. I waved my hand at them. That's not all. I became aware of some problems with our benefit programs, so from today, the company pays for everything 100%. No deductions, no additional payments. In addition, we have added payments for glasses, prescriptions, and children's braces, as well as other additional services. We also fund a pension plan with 100% company contributions to ensure you have a comfortable retirement. There was even louder applause, people banging their fists on the tables in happiness. I waited until everything calmed down. Some of you may have faced financial problems, such as foreclosure or foreclosure due to my greed. I'd like to fix this. I ask anyone who has ongoing problems to come see me in person next week. If this has been a past problem, we will find a way to resolve it, including co-signing new loans if your credit has been damaged. This time, the people fell silent, looking at each other. This was unprecedented. Some wit said, "Someone told me this isn't April Fool's Day." This made everyone laugh, including me. "Only for you if you want it to be, Larry," I answered him jokingly. He shook his head furiously with a laugh. No, he wasn't that impatient. This solves financial issues, but there is one more thing that I would like to change. Many years ago, I established a strict policy regarding employee fraternization. At the time, I was seriously concerned about inappropriate behavior or unwanted advances. But I didn't realize that sometimes people fall in love. I don't want to interfere with this at all. Sheila assured me that the company had grown enough that our fraternization rules could be rewritten to allow people to be people. If you have a love interest or want to date and a conflict arises, we can resolve it by moving one of the parties to a different manager. to prevent any claims of favoritism. If there is no conflict, enjoy each other. If you hid your relationship because of our rules, please tell us about it. There will be no punishment. We will find a way to solve this problem. No need to hide anymore. I got up from my chair. Laura, I need you here. She walked on stage in one of her new dresses and looked like $1,000,000. Several wolf whistles followed, making her blush. What's the matter, Chris? God, she was beautiful. Why did I wait so long to do the right thing? I took a small box out of my sweet pocket and, to a general gasp from the audience, I dropped to one knee in front of it. Laura, I was a fool. If you never speak to me again, I will understand. I have always loved you and, due to my own stupidity, I could not tell you about it. I don't deserve you after the way I behaved, but I hope you and David forgive me. Will you marry me? She loudly shouted yes and jumped on me, knocking me off my feet. I put the ring on her finger, and the audience gave us a standing ovation. We kissed to seal the deal and stood up. I let them clap for another minute to calm down, and I whispered a question into Laura's ear. She nodded affirmatively. And with Laura's kind consent, you are all invited to our wedding. I had to stop again because of the applause. I waved my hand at them. I must say that all our future meetings with employees will not be so good. There were several good-natured exclamations at this. But one more thing. Take some time off today and cash your checks. Rest on Monday, too. I'm declaring it a long weekend. Go and enjoy. Spend some money this Christmas. Have some fun. Oh, and we will be closed from December 23rd to January 2nd. This is a paid company holiday, so you can relax and celebrate Christmas with your family. And thank you. Thank you so much for what you have given to this company, and I hope you forgive the idiot who missed out on all the good things you brought to us. The entire hotel almost collapsed from this applause. As everyone walked out the door, Henry and Mom walked up holding hands. David followed them. I had to look again. I really didn't see the connection between Henry and Mom. David was something else. I realized that I would have to spend a lot of time getting him to accept me. There was anger in his eyes. Yet I thought I saw a glimmer of hope. Hope for something better. In his younger years, he lived a life of severe poverty, all because of me. Well, maybe not entirely. His father abandoned Laura and David at birth, so he had some responsibility. I instinctively knew that this was not something I could pay off with. His anger at me, and at his real father, and perhaps at all men, was probably very deep. Buying things with money is like going to Disneyland. Lots of fun, but sooner or later, the reality of everyday life comes back. No, David will need my time and personal effort to become a father to him, to give him back what he should have enjoyed in life. Perhaps I needed to find a counselor to help the two of us find our path, help him overcome his anger. Whatever the future holds, it's time for me to become a man and correct my mistakes. Henry looked handsome in his new sports jacket, and Mom was wearing a new dress. Looking at her, I understood where Laura got such an attractive appearance. If I'm lucky, this vicious right hook will bypass Laura's generation. Mom extended her hand to shake mine. There is hope for you, Chris. It was a great performance. Now get busy and marry my girl. Give me more grandchildren. I looked at Laura and shrugged. I'm not going to disappoint Mom and get slapped again, honey. That will be 12 grandchildren. She moved into my arms and looked into my eyes. I cannot wait. I was thinking about what happened this morning. It was a good start. But the road back is long and fraught with difficulties. Looking at my new family, I was sure that now more precisely, we would cope with everything. I had the girl of my dreams and a new son, and there was also a future mother-in-law who helped me fly straight. Clenching my still sore jaw, I realized that otherwise was obvious. I felt a peace that had not been in my life for a long time. I took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of Laura's hair, enjoying the feeling of her loving softness in my arms. It was the best Christmas of my life. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.